It began in the parched heart of Dustwater, a town clinging to the edges of survival in the unforgiving lands of the Arizona Territory. Sheriff Eli Ransom stood alone in the street, his coat flapping in the dry wind, eyes locked on the burning wreckage of the Wells Fargo Bank. The robbers had torn through town like a storm, masked, ruthless, and hungry for gold. Smoke still curled from the shattered windows. The townsfolk, shaken and frightened, peered from behind shutters and doors, whispering tales of the gang that struck without warning and vanished like ghosts. Eli wasn't just a law in Dustwater. He was the last thread of peace after the war ended, and he bore his scars quietly. With no family left and a past tangled in battlefield ghosts, he stayed because he believed in one simple truth: people deserved better. That's when he heard the faint click of metal behind the vault door. He paused. "Hello," he called gently, gun lowered. "Is someone in there?" A long silence. Then, slowly, a whimper. "I won't hurt you," Eli said, voice soft as cotton. "You're safe now. I'm the sheriff." The vault creaked open, and a pale face peeked out. Her eyes were wide, haunted, like she'd just crawled back from hell. Her bridal gown was torn, dirt-streaked, and her hands trembled as she clutched a small revolver. "I don't trust you," she whispered, backing against the wall. Eli raised both hands. "That's all right. Just stay calm. You ain't got to trust me, but I reckon you could use some water. Maybe a blanket." She blinked hard. "They're gone. They're gone." He nodded. "And you're safe. I promise." Her name was Lila Monroe, and her story bled heartbreak. Chapter 2, The Bride Who Ran. Lila had come west to marry a man she'd never met, a wealthy cattle baron from New Mexico, a promise of escape from poverty and control. But what awaited her was far darker. The wedding took place in haste, and the man, Harlen, treated her less like a bride and more like livestock. When she tried to run, he tracked her across counties. She thought she was free when she boarded a stagecoach bound for Dustwater. But Harlen's men followed. She ducked into the bank for refuge just as the outlaw gang stormed in. Amid the robbery, Lila had hidden in the vault, praying for death or salvation, whichever came first. Eli listened, jaw clenched, heartbreaking. "No one's ever been kind to me," she murmured. "Kindness is always a trick." He looked at her then, his voice rough but tender. "That's not the way it's supposed to be." Over the weeks that followed, Eli didn't push. He gave her space. Food, warm clothes, a bed at the boarding house guarded by Miss Edith and a shotgun. And slowly, Lila began to believe in silence, in sunrises, in the smell of coffee and the sound of horses in the morning. But her past didn't sleep. Chapter 3, Harlen's Return. Word came by telegraph. Harlen was offering a bounty for his stolen bride. Alive. Men came sniffing, silver stars bored and pinned, claiming authority under twisted law. One even showed up at Miss Edith with a warrant. Eli met him at the door. "You best leave now," Eli said, his tone iron. "She's his wife by law," the man smirked. "That law don't hold in Dustwater. Not when she's hiding bruises." The man left with a broken nose and a threat to return. That night, Lila sat on the porch with Eli, staring at the stars. "I'll leave," she said quietly. "You'll get hurt if I stay." Eli looked over, shaking his head. "Lila, I seen more pain than a man ought to in one lifetime. But I never seen someone so brave. You ran. You survived. And you never gave up. That don't make you a burden. That makes you worth fighting for." Her eyes welled up. "Why?" "Because somewhere along the way, I forgot what it meant to care. And you reminded me." Chapter 4, The Firefight at Devil's Wash. Harlen didn't send men the next time. He came himself. With 5 hired guns, he rode into town like the devil calling in the dead. His voice echoed down Main Street, mocking, cruel. "Lila, come out now, or I burn this place to the ground." Eli stood between him and the saloon, rifle in hand. She ain't yours, Harlen. Not anymore. You'll die for her. Harlen sneered. Eli didn't blink. If that's what it takes. Gunfire erupted. The townsfolk, who once feared Harlen's name, stepped forward. Miss Edith from the balcony with her rifle, young Tommy from the livery with a slingshot and rocks, even old Doc Weller with his pistol shaking in hand. Lila didn't hide. She picked up Eli's backup Colt and took cover, watching his back, firing with a calmness that surprised even her. When the smoke cleared, 2 men lay dead. One was Harlen. The rest fled. Eli had a graze on his arm and a new respect burning in his chest. Chapter 5. Dustwater's Rose. Time passed, as it always does, and Dustwater healed. Lila didn't leave. She worked with Miss Edith, helping wounded women escape violent men, opening a small schoolhouse on the edge of town, where she read poems under the cottonwoods and helped girls learn their letters. Eli stopped calling her. One morning, he rode out with her to Devil's Wash, the site of that last gunfight, and knelt in the dust, pulling out a ring that once belonged to his mother. "You saved me," he said, "in more ways than I can count." Lila smiled, tears in her eyes. "I thought I was broken," she whispered, "but I was just waiting for someone to believe I wasn't." Epilogue. A new sunrise. The wedding was small but fierce. Miss Edith cried. Tommy wore boots too big. The preacher fumbled his words, but no one cared. Lila wore a simple dress stitched by the women she had helped. There were no jewels, but there was laughter, music, and something even rarer in the West, peace. And as they danced under the wide-open sky, Eli whispered into her ear, "You're not just my bride, Lila. You're the heart of this whole town." She smiled, pressing her forehead to his. "And you're the first man who ever spoke kindly to me, and meant it.